Howdy, y'all. Brother Damon here, Damon Chief Jones. It's a good, great Monday morning. I just want to let y'all know I would have been back, and I've had about 6 or 8 different things on my mind to talk to you all about, except my mother-in-law had a situation that we had to help her out with a really bad knee, and it required immediate attention, so we had to take care of that. And then I got a friend, Brother Don, who's been in hospice care at the hospital in Mobile, Alabama, and I had to travel to go see him and spend the evening with he and his wife and pray with them and be there with them in their time of need. So I had 2 major situations come up, and therefore I couldn't really do videos. And then another auditor had to call me on the phone because that auditor was going through a bunch of things with police and calling me for some ideas and thoughts to make sure that they didn't get thrown under the jail. And so I was helping them deal with some things. And then another auditor called me about some various things, and just one thing and another kept me from doing it. But I do want to mention this one woman's name, Pam. I'll just call her Miss Pam. She sent me an email, and she has an idea, and I had this idea, but then again not. I don't want to steal nothing from nobody. Basically, her idea is, and this goes into general research, if you're going to go somewhere and do an audit, and remember, auditing is an accounting. That's why they come up with the name auditing. We're doing an accounting. It's an accountability issue. Is our local government, our state government, our national government, we're calling them in checks as part of the checks and balance of we the people versus our sovereign government. Are you being accountable? Are you being responsible? You have a lot of authority, but you must have equal responsibility with that authority. And here's what she thinks, and I agree, but I want to give her some credit. I hope she sees this. I'd had so many emails, hers was like 5 to 7 days behind by the time I could answer her, so she probably thought I forgot about her in a week's time. But when you have an avalanche of emails, that's the way it goes. So she says, you're going to go to ABCXYZ place, whatever it is. You should think about maybe, and of course, if I'm not saying exactly what she said, Miss Pam, don't be mad with me. So I'm interjecting some of my stuff along with this and filling in the piece of the puzzle. And if I misunderstand, you just have to comment on here or send me another email and help me out. But if you're going to go to that place, maybe you could write a letter. Maybe you could send it to the constable, the sheriff, chief of police, city marshal, U.S. marshal, judge, courts, clerks, public works, whatever it is, and say to them, if the following things occur, how would you perceive it? What would you do? And then it would be up to you to say you're coming or not coming. Quote, giving them some notice that you're going to be coming and what you're going to be doing. It'd almost be like C.J. Grisham when he told the chief of police he was coming. Now that chief shot him with a taser gun and caused him a severe head injury and acted out, and they pulled weapons on people all around there, and it was a bad deal in Almost Park, Texas. Now, why I'm saying this is, it's still up to each individual auditor whether you want to tell somebody you're coming or not. Do you want the element of surprise, or do you want to occasionally go the other way around and say, hey, I am coming, or other people are coming, and we're going to audit you constitutionally and lawfully on this, that, or the other thing. And maybe even ask them, what is your policy on the various things? If somebody is credentialed press and their credentials are clearly visible, at least as visible as a name tag is on a police officer's uniform, it's visible in some means, even if it's small type like a name tag. Are you going to treat them as a journalist, and are you going to roughhouse them, or are you going to lock them up for being a journalist or citizen reporter or whatever term you call this man or woman? So what are you going to do with them? What will you do with me? What is your policy on this? So in the instance that you send, say, Chief, we'll just make up somebody, Chief Johnson. Dear Chief Johnson, I'm coming to your city of ABC, Texas, or Omaha, Nebraska, or Los Angeles, California. I'm coming to your city, or other people are coming to your city. We want to know what your policy is on the following things, so that we understand your policy, so that we don't wind up hurt, injured, killed, or somewhere in between. So we're trying to, and then we're going to see, one, does your policy meet the law? One. If it doesn't meet the law, we may send that law back to you and ask you if y'all want to rethink your policy and have a dialogue with you over 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks and see if we can get some kind of understanding here, and then come see you and then see if you hold up to it. If you don't answer, then we're at that position where we go back and say to you, you have not answered us, and we sign for a return receipt so that somebody in that government has to sign for it, and then we can show what we sent notarized or witnessed by two good men in good standing as the custom and usage. Now, with that said, if we do something, me, you, whomever, does something in a journalistic or as just a citizen, or if you don't like that term citizen, or as a national of Texas or an American national, if you like that term, if you just want to be a man or a woman, whatever term you use, whatever suits you best suits me, and that's fine. And the government said you decide who you are. They don't decide who you are, although they're good at putting labels on people. Anyway, if you attempt a dialogue and you tried to do right in the beginning, and you have not done what some would consider a sneak attack, of course, that's perfectly fine. A police department, a constitutional peace officer or statutory peace officer, government officials, from the local guy that collects the garbage to the mayor to the county commission, alderman, city councilman, whatever they call where you're at, are 100% accountable to the people. Now there's standard channels that we work through with our servants. Like the people may need to deal with the foreman of a crew versus the actual members. However, the actual members are in a place of public trust, and they maintain the public trust. And people have asked me, do you understand the SDK trust? Yes, I do understand the SDK trust, and I understand a lot of other trust. And I see that the government has been trying to, quote, crack or pierce various trust of individual men and women, private men and women, citizens, nationals, whatever term you want to use. I've been doing a lot of study on this. But anyway, my point is that she's saying if you do that, you do your research just like David does over at News Now Houston, and you find out where the public access is, where their property starts and stops, where the public access starts and stops, and make sure you leave a little area between you and that property so that they come get you. Then they're the one that's going to be upside down. If they don't know where the property lines is, they're in trouble. You know where they are, and you're working by them. If you if you find out what their policies and procedures are because you have somebody there that gives you the information, feeds it to you, or you get it through open records, or you write them and ask them what their policy is, they may write you back and say our policy is, and then you find out later that that is not their policy. So they may tell you they have a policy. I've seen that happen before. Somebody's asked an entity about their policy, and they said our policy is, and then later on come to find out their policy was different than what they said. So they actually were saying that their policy was more strict, but the written policy was much more lenient. So this was a head of agency's interpretation of a policy. So when they got it later, then they compared it and they sent a letter back and said, you said the policy was this, but this is the policy. So we didn't do this, that, or the other for fear of being hurt by what you said. So was this accident on purpose? But also, say if the police say, or any entity says, our policy is that we go by state statute or we go by the law, and then maybe you have a lawyer for yourself or an attorney or some means of disseminating a lawful opinion, even if it's your own, that you've studied up on it and you come to a reasonable, logical, learned opinion that this is what this means, and you go there, then they arrest you. Well, you show that you had good faith, you had righteous intentions, you did research this, you did talk to the entity, you did get paperwork, or they refused you paperwork, so you was at a total guesswork, which made you even more serious in investigative journalism, that they wouldn't respond. Why would they not respond? Government's favorite thing is, what do you got to hide? What do you got to hide? A lot of people have zero to hide, but they don't like their privacy pierced. You know, that was one of the big things in the Constitution. And Benjamin Franklin himself says, we owe no duty to the government to open up our books and give our privacy away, basically. It's more to it, but that's basically in essence what he said. And I believe in that. You know, let's just say on one of my devices, I have a over-the-top security system. Very over-the-top. I mean, this is stuff that a CEO of a Fortune 500 company would have, or certain government officials might have on certain government state secrets, so to speak, that they have to have all these layers of protection. I have that on one of my devices. Why? Do I have anything on there to hide? Absolutely not. There's nothing in there, to my knowledge, that I believe I couldn't run in a local newspaper. I couldn't put on Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, Internet News. There's nothing I couldn't put on there if I chose to. But I'd like to keep certain things private to me, just like you want to keep certain things private to you. So to make the false assumption and presumption, what do you got to hide? What do you got to hide? Sometimes people do have things to hide. But you shouldn't just presume that or assume that, even in law. And the government is not a man or woman, and they don't have rights. They have privileges. And the privileges are what we grant them. Okay? So they don't have a right to privacy because it's a fiction corporation. They don't have a right to privacy. They have certain privileges that we grant. And then there is need for some secrecy in certain aspects of state security and national security. Okay? Because we can't put out there how we're going to, for example, interrogate enemy combatant. Now that should probably never be considered American. But anyway, just for the sake of argument, they shouldn't put out there how they're going to interrogate them, because then that would let them go and plan and execute their plan against you, me, or everybody else. So how they do that, we should probably keep that a secret, unless it's some sort of horrendous torture of some sort, and that's not who we are. Now, on the other hand, if somebody from some foreign country is trying to hurt me and my family and other people in this country, I personally don't care how they extract that information out of them within reason. Now, I'm not talking about gouging out their eyes or cutting out their tongue or nothing like that. So don't go there. Don't go to Trollville. But I mean, the sleep deprivation, the sensory deprivation, and other psychological things up to a point. If round one don't work, you go to round two. So I'm saying there are some secrets that people should have, but it's limited. And when I say the people, I mean government. The people can have all the secrets they want. But anyway, that's why I haven't been back to y'all. So I'm going to probably call this audit research, because that's what I'm trying to talk about, is audit research. And I plan, and I've been asked by a few people in California, Idaho, Oregon, Florida, Georgia, and Alabama, and North Carolina. I've been asked by people to come teach auditing 101 and auditing 102, or whatever the next number is, 505, and talk about various strategies and methods so that me, you, and everybody is completely 100% lawful, and that we can show that we did do our research. So if we are abused, if we are mistreated, if we are thrown into jail, then we can go before a proper presiding sitting judge, and we can go before a jury of our peers, or we can file suits at law, called lawsuits, and recover our damages, which would probably be vast, just like they're going through over there in Leon Valley, Texas, and they're going through in Almost Park, Texas. And, to a point, Almost Park, after the fact, kind of tucked their tail between their legs and sit down and said, we have on our panties. Now, I wouldn't say it's 100% true, but that's mostly true from what I've seen. Now, there's things probably going on that I don't know about. So maybe I'll just rescind my last statement. Or maybe I won't. But Almost Park, it's different than Leon Valley. The chief over there kind of wanted to hide and stay out of the limelight, and didn't want to get into any big issues or problems. Over at Leon Valley, you got Chief Hollywood. He wants to be on the news. He wants to be on the internet. He thrives on this. Just like, Satan feeds off of fear and intimidation and threats and all these things. It's like this guy, man, if there's a camera, he goes into action. And he propels his people into action. Leon Valley's a dangerous place, and they got a powder keg over there because the chief of police. Just saying. Okay, y'all got questions or some things you want me to talk about? I've got about a dozen ideas. Just like when is political speech, and when is religious speech, and when is personal speech, when and how much is available to you as a man or woman. Absolutely 100%. How about hate speech? Oh yeah, especially hate speech is covered and guaranteed. Not that certain people like it, not that necessarily anybody except for a few really are into that, But it's totally lawful. And they wanted to make sure when this country was founded that you could say right what was on your mind. And most of the people that day had no filters, zero, whatever they thought just come out. Well, you've been taught in political correctness to have all kind of filters and change your words and definitions and meanings, or give broad-based ones. Anyway, here is when it stops. Any man or woman can say anything they want to. Anything. Period. Okay, now, here is the absolute limit. If you, any man or woman, threaten another man or woman, you threaten public servants, you threaten the government as a group of people, not them as an entity, and depending on if you're talking about a legal threat's 100%. I mean, you can say, I'm going to sue you, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you're all good, right? But you can't threaten to harm them or their families, you personally. You're not responsible, just like I'm not responsible for any comments anybody makes. I'm only responsible for Chief. That's it. Nobody else in the world. Same with everybody else. But whatever you say, if you threaten somebody, or you threaten their family, or you threaten an entity or a group of people to harm them, you're going to push them down, you're going to punch them in the nose, you're going to cut them, shoot them, anything like that, then you're 100% responsible for that. And that's where the government, our servants, can come after you and will come after you. Okay? That's reasonable and fair. You can't threaten me, I can't threaten you. You know, that's just agreed and understood across the board. So people can say anything about anybody or anything they want to until they threaten harm. And then they lose all of that speech. It goes completely. So I'm doing some more research on some various things. I'd like to be accurate. I'm a man. I make mistakes. I've made mistakes. I make them now. I'm going to make them. And just like I said, a DA can indict a ham sandwich. There's enough laws to make it happen. The government can follow anybody around, usually an hour, but definitely a day's time in your everyday life, and find some violation, because when you've got 20 and 30-story buildings and they have nothing but law books and regulation books, top floor to bottom floor, that's hard copy written, you know, West Publishing, ABC Publishing, whomever, there's some rule, some regulation, some law, some statute somewhere that says what you did was no good. Either the time you mowed your yard, it was too early or too late, according to the hours of peace. You weaved in your lane. I mean, you actually really weaved. It wasn't a made-up thing. Or you was profiled. Whatever it is. There's something that you're going to violate something to, quote, give them justification to drive through that circle, pierce your privacy, and get into your life. But in reality, unless you go check and do something to get on the radar, you usually ain't. So they listen to what you say. That's just like the government. From local government to national government knows who I am. They know who I am, one, because they trained me. They know who I am because I was part of them to various degrees over many years. They know about me because I've helped free people from jails and prisons over the years, through court orders and retrials and various things. So they know who I am based on that. They know who I am because I don't like the term activist. It's another label. You know, like those people. You know about those people. those activists. What do you know about them? That just means they're actively doing something that they believe in. So people that go to church are activists. They actively go to church. They actively participate in their religious beliefs, or their synagogues or mosque or whatever it is they go to. People that play golf, they're activists. They're actively out there on the field hitting them golf balls, talking business deals, you know? Out away from the office, and unless somebody's bugged, then they're considered to be able to have private confidential speak out there on the golf course. I know a lot of people over the years I've known that's play golf and get into that. And I'm just saying, hey, that's the way it really is. You know? So they're activist. Constitutionalists. Oh, you're one of them, a constitutionalist. Well, yeah. Since that's the law of the land, and since that's what our foundation, our concrete foundation, our covenant doesn't have an expiration date, that's why it's not a contract. It's an agreement by the people and our servants. Yes, we the people, that's the only thing that the people, all the people, agreed to in supermajority. Okay? And was ratified by the people's representatives, saying this is exactly how we want our fundamental top law, our supreme law, the supreme law of the land, the law of the people. Not the law of government, the law of the land, the law of the people. This is the way we want it. Okay? Now, before I close out, I belong to SDF, Self-Defense Fund, selfdefensefund.com. If you go there, and a lot of you have, I thank you. I thank you for me, so I get a few bones for gas, and to go out and be an activist at church, and an activist in life, and a constitutionalist, and a biblical theologian. I'm actively a theologian. So think about activist. Anyway, here's the deal. Think. Use your noggin. Your noggin. Okay? But over at SDF, selfdefensefund.com, if you put in the word chief or the number 4, the numeric 4, chief, either one, then I'll get credit, and that'll throw me some bones. So that makes me a whole lot less to come and say, hey, can you support this or that? So I'll use some of those funds to help get me places. It ain't going to do it all. It's not that much, but it's something. And watch my ads on here all the way through. Visit the advertisers. That helps me. That empowers me to where I've had to ask for your help here. Maybe we can get it down to here. And maybe over time we can get it down to here. You know? So I'm trying to fix it where I never have to ask people for donations. I'm not scared to do it, but I don't like to do it. Unless there's a very specific need, and then I do. And I do it to whatever level it needs. Thank you for every donation, everybody. But Self-Defense Fund, if you're in a shooting incident or a rock throwing contest, I'm making a joke, but somebody's trying to hurt you and you use a brick or a rock, you use a stick, you use a baseball bat, you use nunchucks, you use throwing stars, you use a blowgun, anything that you use to defend yourself, they're going to come. They're trial lawyers. They're junkyard dog trial attorneys. Those that grab a bone and won't let go of it. They're going to use the Constitution. They're going to double down, triple down, quadruple down on your rights as a man or woman to defend yourself since biblical times. Every man and woman has a right to defend themselves. and they're going to defend that. Lots of people had to defend themselves and go to jail. Go check around in your county jails, state jails, federal penitentiaries, and find out how many people are in there for defending themselves because the police misunderstood a fact or whatever, and the DA was being reelected and they hammered people. Got them convicted when they didn't do nothing but defend themselves. That's bad to defend yourself. You have to do something to stay alive and you go to jail for it. But it happens. Selfdefensefund.com. Selfdefensefund.com. And I want to say hello to my great friends over at Open Carry, Texas. I'm a member of Open Carry, Texas. And I want to say hello to my great friends at Bama Carry. Bama Carry. Bama Carry and Open Carry, Texas are good people. And we got a lot of them that are Self-Defense Fund members. It's an excellent thing. Very excellent. I have it. You know, you say, well, you're a retired chief of police and you know the laws and, you know, you're qualified with weapons of self-defense and trained, so you shouldn't need it. Wrong. I don't care if you're the elected sheriff in your own county. You need it. Why? You might be asleep at your home, somebody breaks in and you shoot them and kill them. And because somebody does some kind of triangulation measurement and incident recreation from a specialist, and they say, well, it looks like this, looks like that, and the evidence doesn't